Good morning, everyone. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and I am going to be continuing my project, which is kind of just a fun little thing that I'm trying to do to improve my skills as a software engineer and break into that software engineering space. So, reinforce all of those concepts and topics that are extremely important in software engineering, specifically for back-end software engineering. So, that's kind of what I'm targeting. Now, the project that we're doing right now is this one right here. So it is a Node.js project. And what I'm trying to do is right now I have a golden copy, is what I'm calling it, which is I created something that actually works. Okay, so like I can come here and I can do node mon and then server.js, okay, and it runs. Okay, then I come here and I'm able to, from my local device, I'm able to index, like I did an endpoint for I did an endpoint for okay, and then I did one for just like this, and then I did one for index. So I was playing around, and as of right now, what we have is something that is a server that's able to listen. Okay, I'm gonna stop this right here so it's not burning any resources. So I have a server that's able to listen. I'm able to then have endpoints, different endpoints that I'm able to access the from like it's not the web, but right, I'm able to from as a client access it. I am then also able to have JavaScript, or sorry, HTML and CSS. So if you notice, this one right here is CSS. It's an HTML page with CSS styling. So I was able to get those connected and rendered in my response. So in this video right here, awesome. I have something that kind of works, but I don't exactly understand how I did it, and a lot of those concepts are slightly fuzzy. So in this video, I'm going to be going back and looking at my project and trying to understand each of those points and figure out like, hey, what exactly is going on here and how is it working? So, okay, let's start. Let me make myself a little bit smaller. So, okay, I have this, and I might actually even be able to like delete all of this because this was I was trying to write it myself and I was running into a lot of issues, and then this was written for me, which was very similar, although I'm gonna keep it actually just so I can refresh myself. Okay, so starting here. So these import statements. Now there's different ways to actually do import statements in JavaScript, and one way which I was trying to do was kind of like const equals, or const variable equals, and then require something. But that's wrong. You don't do it that way. So there's ES way of doing things, and then there's two ways of doing things. I forget the exact thing. But the way that we're going to be doing it is the modern way, which is you do import library, or I guess this is an object that we're capturing from this library. So I captured this express object, or what would that be? Is it it's not really an object, it's, yeah, a library, I guess. And then I'm able to instantiate that object and get this, or instantiate that class and get this object, okay? And then we have a whole bunch of different things like use and set and get. So, and listen, this comes, this app comes from Express. Okay, Express is Node.js. I'm trying to keep this straight in my head. Node.js. This is the software that allows me to run my project as outside of the browser, right? Because JavaScript needs some way to run. So Node.js is able to be the engine to run my JavaScript. Okay. Question. When I do like nodemon and then server.js, where is Node.js actually coming into play? I didn't instantiate Node.js, and I'm not actually even, I didn't import Node.js, and I don't, okay, I have node modules, and I remember doing npm, which is, what was it, node, package manager. Was it node package manager? So npm init started my project, and that is node, maybe? Let's go to Copilot and ask. So I have my project and it works. I can run nodemon server.js and it listens and responds. But I am trying to figure, okay, whatever, it'll know. Figure out where and how Node.js is actually evoked in this process. Okay. So Node.js is actually evoked the moment you run nodemon server.js or node server.js. Okay, so this is the way that I used to be running it. I would just evoke node, right? Like node server.js. So running node server.js, nodemon. Nodemon is a tool that automatically restarts your server when file changes. When you run nodemon server, behind the scenes, it really runs node. Okay, so that's kind of all that I needed, actually, was node loads your script server.js and processes it line by line. The first thing it does is import modules like express and the .environment variables. Then it creates an express application, so it creates the application, which is what we did, right? Okay. And then you can like have it listen. Okay. Awesome. So I kind of understand that. Now, so I have this application, which is an express application. Okay, cool. Now, what are these like use methods that I'm just randomly calling? And I see I'm using use express JSON, use this, which is a route that I created in source routes, and then I have haha.js, okay, and I call that here, which that was in my last video that I did, and I need to go back over that and try to figure out like Okay, how do I actually connect these? So I'm gonna copy and paste this and say, what are these use things doing? What are these use methods doing? How does it change my application? Okay, so once we get all of those things, the use, the set, and then I want to kind of dig into, okay, well, what are these like view engines and how does the HTML and the CSS connect? And once we get that, like, okay, well, how do I dynamically like render different web pages or different HTML with different CSS with all of this, right? Like that's kind of what I want to do. And then yeah, so once I get kind of a conception of what's going on here, I think the next step is, okay, well, now how do I create a web page so that the user can kind of input something, right? Like I want to get data from the user and then I want to store it in a database, specifically in a database because I want practice accessing databases. But we're not doing that right now. Right now, we are just trying to understand what we have right now, right here. Then we can move forward and continue. Okay, so the use method in Express adds middleware to your application. Okay. Adds middleware to my application. So I have an application, yeah, that makes sense. Middleware just means the functions that occur between the time of a client calling it or like sending a request and the application's response back, right? Like that's what middleware is, correct? We're gonna have to look into that and find out exactly what it means to be a middleware function. Okay. So, breaking down my middleware. App.use express.json. So, parses incoming JSON requests so your application can handle request.body in post requests. Without this, your server wouldn't be able to process JSON data sent from a client. Okay, so how does a client send that? Okay, I'm going to write that down. That's question number one. How would a client even send a JSON file? From my perspective, I just have a web page that I can access whatever, like a URL. Okay, so that's question number one. We're gonna keep going and see what more questions we have. Okay. So app.use this haha and haha routes tells Express that any request starting with \haha should be handled by the haha routes file. Okay, so I created a file. Okay. Was it a file or a folder? I think it was a file. Okay. Routes haha.js. Why did I not need to do like .js? Oh, okay. Well, there is a .js right there. Okay. Makes sense. All right. So anytime I get a incoming request to my application, okay, to my Express application, if it has the URL like backslash haha, it is going to automatically go to this haha routes, which is by definition this JavaScript file, which is right here, that I exported here, okay? So it's going to come to this router, and this router then is an express router, okay? So I call haha, and express sends that to this router object, which is an express router, and it takes away the backslash haha, it takes away that backslash haha, and all that's left is just a backslash. And then this router will send a response back and say you have reached the haha endpoint. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Okay. Sure. Okay. This does the exact same thing. App.use. Okay, so this was when I was creating those CSS files. I also want to know why it's called static. What? So I remember the keyword static in C used to throw me off because from the engineering, like the physics perspective, static means doesn't change. You have statics and you have dynamics, right? Statics is the physics of objects in rest. Dynamics is the physics of objects in motion. So to my head, when I was first, actually not even first learning, this was a long ways into my thing, I always just thought the keyword static was identical to the keyword const. And it never really, like, I never cleared that not cobweb out of my head, but like, you know how you have those kind of like misconceptions in your mind that you know that something is strange there. Maybe you like feel uneasy, but you never like actually think to investigate it, that kind of feeling. Well, that was what was happening with the static. And then later I realized, oh, okay, static doesn't mean that at all. So I'm seeing this word static here, and maybe it is not the static in physics. Maybe it is like the C static. Okay, so app.use express.static source public. Okay, so source public, this is the folder directory that I created. So I created a folder called source, then I created a folder called public, and then within public I created a CSS file. Right, so here's public, source, public, and then styles.css. Okay. More coffee. All right. So the purpose of this is serves static files like CSS, images, JavaScript from source public, allowing files in that folder to be accessed directly via a URL. If you have a file like source public styles, it can be accessed at style CSS instead of needing a root. What does that mean? Um, so I'm going to say, what exactly does a middleware function mean? Okay, that's number 2. Number 3 is, for static files, what does static mean in this context? Can you give me more examples of how this would be used? Okay. Oh, there's a little bit more. So middleware makes your application more scalable. You can separate concerns, JSON parsing, routing static files, instead of stuffing everything into server.js. Users can send data, JSON data, without express.json. Post requests with JSON bodies wouldn't work. Routes are modular instead of manually checking paths. So if request URL equals 3 =, this string, Express automatically routes the request. Static files are served efficiently. No need to create special routes for CSS or images. They are automatically available. What does that mean, automatically available? Okay. So, let's break it down. How would a client send a JSON file? So this actually might be pretty important because of what I just said a little while ago, which was going forward with this project, I am going to want to be able to post data. As a client, I want to post data to my backend service, and I want to be able to have my backend service put that data into a database. Okay, well, how do you do that? This question is kind of along those lines. So you're right, a typical web page accesses a URL and gets a response. But in a more dynamic application, clients like websites and applications send JSON data to a server using HTTP requests, usually via post or put requests. Examples: sending JSON from a web page. If a web page has a form, you can use JavaScript fetch to send JSON. So is this from, this is on the web page right here. Fetch, submit. Okay, so that's the other thing that we haven't done yet, is on my web page, I don't have any JavaScript. All of the JavaScript is on my back end. Okay, I didn't render any JavaScript. I have very basic HTML and very basic CSS, but there's no JavaScript functionality. I think what this sentence or this paragraph is telling me is that I have my HTML, I have my CSS, and then I also will have JavaScript on the web page, on the client's web page, and that JavaScript can, like, if the user presses submit, can say trigger an event, and that event will create a JSON file. So like I can take data that they put in maybe a text box and they press submit, and that triggers my JavaScript to say, hey, this event occurred. I'm going to take the data which is in this like user, it's saying username. So like username, text box, and then whatever, age, text box. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to put it in to a JSON file and then send that to the server. Okay. Which obviously brings up a secondary thing that we need to learn, which is how do you connect JavaScript to your web page? So we still haven't even figured out how to do the HTML and CSS. We're gonna keep investigating these things. Okay, so you can do this fetch, submit, and then curly brackets. So I'm creating the JSON file right here, I believe. No. This is method, so it's a post request. The header is, okay, so I'm just creating like this header for a post request maybe. Then the body is a JSON file, and here is the actual JSON file that I'm creating. Okay. So this sends data to your Node.js server at submit. Oh, so this is the endpoint. So this is an endpoint right here. Okay. Where Express can read it using express.json middleware. Other ways JSON is sent. Front-end frameworks like React, Vue, Angular, okay, often send JSON through API calls. Postman, I know Postman. A testing tool allows manual sending JSON requests. So that's the one that I've seen before, which is this web page that you're able to essentially construct a GET HTTP request, or you can just select a post and then you put in the data that you want and all of this, right? So I've seen Postman, and that's why I was wondering, like, okay, well, how do you actually do that from a web page? Okay. All right, so what does middleware mean? Middleware is a function that runs between a request and a response. Okay, that's exactly what I was saying. It processes or modifies the request before it reaches the endpoint. Okay, so okay, sure. Before sending back a response, middleware can modify the request, check authentication, parse data, etc. So, pass control to the next middleware function. Okay. Ding, 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 ding. This is a big question that I have. What is the order in which things occur? Because I know that you can do next. I know that you can string your middleware functions along. What is the order? And when does it stop? Those are two questions that I have. For middleware functions, what is the order? Where does it start and where does it stop? Okay. To the next middleware function. Okay. This logs incoming request before Express handles it. Okay, so we're able to like say, hey, I got a request from this URL. Or you can, instead of console log, maybe you can put that, you can log it to a database. Or I don't know if that would be the efficient way to do things for like troubleshooting, or just if you want a record of every time someone tried to access your website, like, hey, was this a suspicious person? Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to think of use cases, right? Like, okay, cool. Express.json parses incoming JSON requests. Serves static files. Body parser helps process incoming data. Body parser, I haven't seen that. Okay, so one here, and then two is what is body parser and how can I use it? Okay. Okay. All right, so now static. In this context, static files are assets that don't change dynamically. Oh, so they're like the real static. It's the real definition of static, not whatever they were thinking was C. Okay, cool. They are just served as they are. That's right. Okay, so like CSS doesn't change. Okay. JavaScript files used in client-side behavior, images, all of these, they're just there. Okay. It means any file inside of this folder is all right. And we should be back. I don't know why my computer decided to just shut off the video recording, but here we are. That was fun. So anyways, what was I doing? So any file inside of this public folder is accessible directly through the browser. So the browser can just access anything in there. So from the client side, my HTML, I load the HTML and I can just grab whatever is in that. Now, okay, so that's what it means. I can just grab whatever in there. So if there's I can grab the JavaScript, which is in that public folder. I can grab the images, any image in there. So it's like publicly available. Makes sense? Okay. So now I have styles.css and logo.png. So I'm just gonna have a CSS file and a image. Did I put the HTML in there though? The HTML is somewhere else, right? Yeah, HTML is here within the routes. So why is my HTML not in the static folder if the client should be able to have complete access to it? Okay. So I can go to local, so I can just, let's actually just try that. That's kind of interesting. Let's run this. Okay. Then let's come here and then let's just do this and see what we get. Hey, that's really cool. That's super cool, actually. I reached right in, I grabbed my CSS and I took it. That's really cool. I'm happy about that. That's pretty cool right there. So JSON is sent through API requests, typically posts. Okay, sure. Let's put that there. Okay. You're asking all the right questions. That's right. Anyways, um, middleware execution order. Middleware functions in Express run in order they are defined, from top to bottom. Okay? Requests come in from a client. Yep. Browser accessing index. Okay? Express runs middleware functions in order before hitting the final route. Route handler executes, sending a response back to the client. Okay. So I can have like app.use request response next. So I still don't exactly, why did they put the next there? Did they put the next up here? Yes. Okay, so apparently we can get 3 objects from the request, or from the incoming. It's not request because here's request. I don't like using that word twice. But we can get something called, which is a next object. Okay, great. So console.log, we log this one and move to the next middleware. Okay. Then we can say, hey, JSON is valid. So if we get any JSON, it will be valid. Okay. App.use, and then this routes request starting with haha. So if it doesn't have this haha, it's not going to go into this. It's not going to evoke this router object. Okay. App.get will send this response. So, okay. Order matters. If you define a middleware after a route, it won't run for that route. Next ensures Express moves to the next middleware or route handler. If forget next, the request will hang. Okay? Alright, so what is body parser? How can you use it? Body parser is an Express middleware that helps process request bodies, like JSON, form data. It used to be a separate package, but now is built into Express with express.json. So we've already done express.json. This is no longer needed. I can just do use express.json and then use express.url encode extend is true, so parse from data. Okay. Whatever. It's a way of parsing. Sure. Okay. It's fine. I don't think it's vital right now. Okay, so good thinking. The reason your EJS HTML files are not in public is because they're not static. They are dynamic views. Oh, because EJS, you're able to dynamically put things into it. Like, you're able to inject variables into your EJS HTML. Okay, so static files like CSS, JS, images, fonts, okay, dynamic views are rendered with EJS. So you have to use this result, or response, not result, response renderer, and then you render that EJS file, preceded by the server before sending to the client. So your views EJS must stay in views because Express renderer renders it before serving. Okay, so I don't just give it to the client. Express has to render it and then give it to the client. And that's what's happening with that response.render, and then I put in the address to the file that I want to give to Express, and then Express takes it and sends it. Okay. All right. When would you put HTML in public? If HTML is static, not using EJS or dynamic context, you could put it in public. Okay, cool. Then you don't need, or then you wouldn't need to render. Clients could directly visit that. Okay. Okay. So I'm still a little bit iffy on, slightly unclear, or slightly foggy, I should say, on exactly how Express takes in a request, processes this request, then sends it to these middleware functions. What exactly this is, because now all of a sudden I know request and response, and I thought that that was my little world, that I only had two things, and that this is the way that it is. Now all of a sudden I have a next. So my entire worldview has been, what's going on? Hold on. Okay. Once again, I'm gonna quit this right here so I'm not just burning resources. Okay. So I come here and I have my public. I think we understand that. Now I set. Okay, so I haven't looked into what set is. How about the set method? All right, so set in Express is used to configure settings, okay, for your app. In this case, you're using it to set up view engine and views directory. So app.set view engine. So I'm setting this setting, okay. So there is a setting called view engine that I am assigning EJS to. This tells Express that EJS is the templating engine you want to use. Okay, it allows you to render .ejs files dynamically with response.renderer. Okay, and then the file, which is kind of what we saw. This would load index.js from views directly. Well, what's this? What's going on here? What are these? Oh, maybe that is the variables that I'm passing in to my EJS file. I see. Okay. With this would load EJS from the views directory. Okay, so app.set views. Okay. So I'm setting there is a setting called views, and I'm putting the path for views. Okay. This sets the directory where EJS files are stored. Without this, EJS or Express looks for views in the default location, which is here, which actually might be okay, right? Where is my views? No, because it's within source, so no, it wouldn't be okay. Okay. So set port, so this is just changing the settings. So port is 3000, case sensitive routing is true, so I can just do those little settings. Okay, cool. So change the settings, and then for GET requests, so what if I had like app.get, and then here I had another one which was the exact same thing that I have down here, but it's above. You see, it's above here. And now I have request and response, okay? And then this goes into here, which I say response.send. What do I want to send? I want to send you hit the first one, okay? You hit the first one. So let me run nodemon again, and then I'm going to come here and try to access something. So I'm going to try to access that haha. You reached the haha endpoint, which I set that up here, which that kind of makes sense. Okay, let me try to access this index. What if I just did this? You hit the first one, okay? Because it matched completely. So it's not like, okay. And then it didn't run this one. So how do I use that next thing? So I have app.use, okay. So app.use, and then in here I have, is it just my callback function or my, yeah, okay. I have a request, I have a response, and I have a next. Now, I can come in here and do my file. Now, what can I do? I can do console.log. I am in my middleware function, okay? Then I can do, what was it, app.next? Or just next, I can just call next. Ooh. Like that. Should be. Now, I actually do want to, so console.log inside of the index one, okay? Console.log inside of the second get one. Okay. Awesome. So let me try to run this again. Reference not defined. Okay. So I am in my middleware function. So I did come in here and I did run this one. But then it doesn't like, okay. When I do localhost, whatever, 5,000, I get an error of, and then put this in here. No. No. Oh, come on, man. Really? Really? Is that the case? So now I'm all of a sudden getting my welcome to Node.js server, which is that second one here. And then I'm doing that one first because that's this one. So that's when it's listening. And then I hit that and I say I'm in my middleware function. That's here. And then I call my next, which tries to come here and it says nope, I'm not index. Then it comes here. It says yep, I am. I am this backslash. So then it runs this one, which says I'm inside the second one, and then it does this render. And at that point, or sorry, it does this send, and then at that point, that's the end of the connect or of that dialogue. That's really cool. That's really cool. And if I do it again, it's gonna do the same thing. Watch this. Watch this. Ready? 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 Ha ha ha. There we go. There we go. All right. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break and then I am going to get back into it and I need to continue to figure out how the CSS and the HTML is linked together and how to link JavaScript all from the client side. So I'm trying to create that three-layer, the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript. How do I create that three-layer sandwich that I'm giving to the user? So that's going to be in the next video. If these videos are interesting to you, subscribe. That would be amazing. I would love for you to join me on this wonderful journey of developing our skills as software engineers. And I will, see you guys very soon. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and goodbye.